The body speaks in riddles, and it is the wise who listen. An itch may seem like nothing more than a fleeting irritation. Yet in the quiet language of health, it can carry the weight of warning. Life does not always shout in thunder. Sometimes it whispers in subtle discomfort, waiting for us to notice. To ignore these signs is to gamble with tomorrow, but to honor them is to guard the treasure of life itself. Age does not weaken us, neglect does, and every small symptom is a doorway, offering us the chance to choose prevention over regret. For the heart is the keeper of time, and when it sends its message, even in the gentlest way, it is not to be dismissed. It is to be heard, respected, and acted upon. The body whispers before it screams. Early signs are silent warnings. This truth reminds us that life often communicates through subtle signs long before catastrophe arrives. Too many times, people wait for the loud alarms, the severe pain, or the undeniable collapse before taking action. Yet the body is kind enough to give signals, soft clues, gentle taps on the shoulder, asking to be noticed. An itch, a tingle, a echoing discomfort. These are not nuisances to be brushed aside, but messages from within urging awareness. When ignored, they grow louder, turning whispers into roars, and by the time we pay attention, it may already be too late. To live wisely is to cultivate sensitivity, to recognize that the smallest sensations carry meaning. Silence is not always absence. Sometimes silence is the beginning of a conversation that we must lean in to hear. Imagine the quiet ticking of a clock in the background of your life. Most days it is unnoticed, but its rhythm marks every moment. The body, too, ticks with signs of health and imbalance. An itch may appear harmless, but when it lingers, repeats, or settles in unusual places, it becomes a language worth translating. Those who dismiss such signs risk walking blindly into danger. The greatest tragedies are not always sudden storms, but the accumulation of unattended signals. If the body whispers today and you ignore it, tomorrow it may scream in ways you cannot silence. This wisdom does not come with fear but with empowerment. To listen to the body is to choose responsibility, to respect the gift of life enough to pay attention. The older we grow, the more valuable each signal becomes, because time has taught us that nothing appears without reason. A rash, a spot, an itch. Each is a paragraph in the ongoing story of health. Reading these signs requires patience, humility, and trust in the body's intelligence. Those who honor these signs often find that prevention is not a burden, but a blessing, saving them from pain, loss, and despair. Whispers are meant for those close enough to listen. They are not forced upon you. They invite you. When your body speaks, it does not demand, it suggests. And within those suggestions lies the power to protect the heart, to preserve vitality, and to extend joy. The tragedy is not when signs appear, but when they are ignored. The gift is not merely in longevity, but in the quality of days granted to those who pay attention. To listen now is to save tomorrow. The body whispers before it screams, and to honor its whispers is the purest form of wisdom. Health is not about adding years to life, but life to years. So often people measure well-being in the length of their days, as though a calendar filled with numbers alone were the prize. Yet what good is a life stretched long if it is weighed down by weakness, discomfort, and suffering? True health is not found in merely surviving but in thriving, in the ability to live fully, to laugh freely, to move with energy, and to cherish each day as a gift. The measure of life is not counted by the quantity of breaths we take, but the quality of moments we experience. Every sunrise means little if one cannot rise with it. Every season loses its beauty if one is too frail to walk in its wonder. Longevity without vitality is like a book without words, existing but empty. To add life to years is to treat the body as a temple, a vessel worthy of care, attention, and respect. It is to remember that our habits carve the road ahead, and that every choice, whether of food, rest, or thought, paints the landscape of our future. The body is not an enemy to be conquered, but an ally to be honored, and when treated with kindness, it returns the favor by offering energy, resilience, and peace. Those who ignore this truth often find themselves chained by illness, robbed of freedom, and bound to regrets. But those who live with wisdom learn that health is not a destination reached at the end of life, but a daily journey that shapes how each step feels along the way. Imagine the joy of living a day without struggle, where each breath comes freely, each movement is graceful, and each smile springs from genuine strength. That is the essence of adding life to years. It is not about denying age, for time moves forward regardless of our wishes, but about embracing it with dignity, ensuring that age is not a burden, but a crown of experience carried with vitality. The true wealth of life is found not in possessions, but in the ability to enjoy them. Not in the years themselves, but in the richness they contain. Every heartbeat is more than survival. It is an invitation to live deeply. Every small act of care, every healthy choice, every moment of listening to the body is an investment not in tomorrow alone, but in the quality of today. When life is vibrant, years become meaningful. When life is joyful, age becomes graceful. To live fully is to understand that health is not measured in time, but in the spirit and strength that fill the time we are given. Small symptoms, if ignored, become the loudest alarms. What begins as a gentle nudge from the body can quickly grow into a relentless cry for help when left unattended. A simple itch, a mild ache, a fleeting dizziness, these are often dismissed as ordinary inconveniences of life, yet they carry within them the possibility of being the first page of a much larger story. The body is not careless, deliberate in the way it communicates. Nothing appears without reason, and nothing repeats itself without purpose. When we fail to pay attention to the smallest of signs, we allow them to grow unchecked, and what could have been addressed with ease transforms into something far more difficult to manage. Life has a way of rewarding awareness and punishing neglect. A whisper ignored becomes a shout, and a shout neglected becomes a roar that shakes the very foundation of health. Those who learn to listen early often escape the storms that follow, while those who turn away are left unprepared when the clouds gather. There is no such thing as a meaningless signal from the body. Each mark, sensation, or shift is an invitation to pause and consider what is happening beneath the surface. Small symptoms are like the sparks that precede a fire. If noticed and extinguished, they save the house, but if ignored, they consume everything. To live wisely is to respect even the smallest changes, not with fear, but with curiosity and care. It is not weakness to pay attention to a persistent itch, a recurring cough, or an unusual pain. It is strength, for in that attention lies the ability to preserve freedom, joy, and vitality. Prevention is never dramatic, yet it is always powerful. It saves lives quietly, allowing one to continue walking forward without the weight of illness dragging behind. A single step taken in response to a small symptom can prevent the long road of suffering that neglect creates. The greatest tragedies of health are not those that arrive without warning, but those that reveal they had always given signs, waiting for someone to listen. The greatest regret is not in what happened suddenly, but in what could have been prevented if only attention had been given earlier. A body that speaks should never be silenced, and a symptom that persists should never be overlooked. Small symptoms, though they may seem insignificant, are the guardians of life's greater well-being, reminding us that vigilance today is the key to freedom tomorrow. Awareness is the bridge between fear and prevention. Fear thrives in darkness, in the unknown, being with places where knowledge is absent and uncertainty rules. When people do not understand what their body is trying to say, they fall into anxiety, imagining the worst or denying the truth altogether. Yet awareness lights the path, turning confusion into clarity and replacing panic with preparation. To be aware is not to live in fear, but to live in readiness. To know that danger may exist, but that it can often be faced with strength and wisdom when recognized early. The simple act of paying attention transforms the unknown into something manageable, and what once seemed frightening becomes an opportunity for action. Fear paralyzes, but awareness empowers. The person who ignores a symptom out of fear is no safer than the one who never notices it at all. Closing one's eyes does not remove the storm, it only blinds the traveler to the path ahead. Awareness, however, does not wait for catastrophe. It seeks to understand the whispers before they become shouts. By listening to the body and learning what each sign may mean, one crosses from helplessness into responsibility. Prevention is not built on denial, it is built on acknowledgement. A wish to see clearly and to act before harm becomes irreversible. Awareness does not demand perfection, only attention. It asks for a willingness to observe, to question, and to seek understanding. In doing so, it removes the chains of fear, because knowledge always reduces the power of the unknown. When a person knows the potential meaning of a small change in their body, they are not left to wonder in silence. They can choose, they can prepare, they can take steps to protect their health. What was once terrifying becomes a guide, pointing the way toward healing and safety. To awareness is to choose life over hesitation. It is the difference between reacting too late and acting in time. Prevention is rarely dramatic. It is quiet, steady, and often unseen by others, but it is the force that preserves freedom and joy. Fear isolates, but awareness connects us to wisdom, to solutions, and to hope. In the space between ignoring and overreacting lies the balanced strength of awareness, a bridge that carries us from anxiety into peace, from risk into safety, and from uncertainty into the power of prevention. Every heartbeat deserves respect, and every signal deserves attention. The heart is not merely an organ, it is the keeper of rhythm, the silent drummer of life, beating tirelessly without rest or complaint. Each pulse is a reminder that life continues, that time is still being granted, and that within every throb lies a gift too precious to squander. To respect the heartbeat is to acknowledge that life is fragile and strong at the same time. that it endures yet depends on our choices, and that its well-being is directly tied to the care we offer. Neglecting the signals of the heart is like ignoring the foundation of a home. Eventually, the cracks grow wider, and collapse follows. Attention to signals does not require fear, but reverence. The body is designed to communicate, and the heart is one of its clearest messengers. A skip beat, an unusual flutter, a persistent discomfort. These are not interruptions to be brushed aside, but messages worthy of consideration. Too many lives are lost not because the heart failed without warning, but because the warnings were not honored. Respect is not only in cherishing the good moments when the heart beats smoothly, but also in noticing when it changes its song, when it asks us to listen. Every signal matters because the heart does not waste its language. Just as one would never dismiss smoke rising from a house, one should never dismiss the subtle cues that the heart provides. Small changes may seem harmless, but they carry meaning, and meaning ignored becomes danger multiplied. The truest form of gratitude for life is vigilance, the willingness to observe, to care, and to act when the body asks. Wislet begins not with grand gestures, but with daily attentiveness, with honoring the heart enough to pause and listen to its rhythm. Life is measured not in years alone, but in the strength of each heartbeat. Every signal carries within it the chance to preserve joy, to protect tomorrow, and to honor the miracle of existence. To give attention to the heart is to protect not only health, but also the experiences, relationships, and dreams that depend on it. The heart speaks quietly but with purpose, and every sound it makes is a reminder of the gift of life. To respect every heartbeat and honor every signal is to embrace wisdom, to live consciously, and to safeguard the very rhythm that sustains us.